The chakra system now. Has anybody heard of the word chakra before? Probably most of you have had, right? So a chakra is known as a wheel in Sanskrit, and we have 7 primary chakras and several secondary chakras within the being. But we focus in yoga primarily at the beginning stages of our practice on these 7 fundamental chakras because they are connecting us to the 7 fundamental energetic levels of the universe. Now, if we look at the first chakra at the base, it's a little bit hard to see, but what the artist is showing is plants around there because it's related to symbolic of the earth. So our first chakra is at the base of the spine. It's like at the tip of the tail, it's at the tip of the tailbone, and it's not a physical thing. If somebody dies and they cut the body open, they're never going to find a chakra system at the physical level. This is subtle. This is beyond science ability to even measure something this subtle. Now, if we go up to the second chakra, let's say the first chakra connects us to the energy of the earth, stability, vitality, our sense of security in the material world, and many other things, which I'll show you some more slides to help you get a better understanding. But just understand the first chakra is related to the element of the earth, and that's where our vitality comes from. Now, if you look at the second chakra, it's moving up. There's little waves flowing around it because the second chakra is related to the element of water. You can see the same thing happening here. We're going from gross to subtle. The earth element is one vibration that's rather slow. The next subtle element, or the next element that's even more subtle than the earth element, is water. And this water has to do with our sensuality, our creativity, our sexuality, and so many other things. And when we start to understand what it is that our body needs, or mind, or emotions need, we can relate everything in our being. Every experience, every aspect of human nature and experience can be related through the chakras. That's why the understanding of the chakra system empowers us to then say, well, let's see, I need more love in my life. What can I do? I feel like I'm closed at the level of the heart. I can't receive love, or I have a hard time giving love. Well, then I work with the heart chakra, because if everything is energy, then I can balance this energy, and that energy will change the emotional state. That's the understanding. Let's say I need more courage, more willpower, more dynamism. Well, then I'm going to work with the next chakra, which is the navel chakra, or the chakra related to fire. You need fire for transformation, you need fire for digestion, you need fire for willpower, and on and on. But this understanding helps you to see that whatever it is that you need, you find out how to work with that through the chakra system. And this is like the fast track. Okay, you can do asana forever, and if you don't have the understanding of how the chakras are working, which asanas affect which chakras, which breathing techniques affect which chakras, then basically it's not very efficient. This is like the behind-the-scenes playbook that helps you to understand something that most of us haven't experienced yet, but as soon as you start bringing your awareness into the subtle realms of your being, you can perceive these things. And there are many people who can perceive. I can feel my chakras. I can't see them. There are people who can see them. But even if you just practice for a little while, and I think that most people who have done some sort of purification and yoga practice, many of them have gotten to the ability to perceive their own chakras. So it's not some extraordinary feat. It's not something reserved for the masters. This is something, again, we all have the possibility and capacity to experience and then to utilize this understanding for conscious evolution. Then you go up to the next, and after fire, we have the heart chakra. The heart chakra is related to air because it's at the level of the heart and lungs. It's also connecting to our prana, the pranayama, which is coming through the air that we breathe. And it has to do with unconditional love and compassion. So you can see that as we move from the third chakra, which is all about me and ego, and you go to the fourth chakra, which becomes about heart, unconditional love, selflessness. This is the biggest jump in human evolution, because most of us in the modern world are stuck at me. But we look at people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa and even Sangasena, these beautiful beings that are serving constantly everyone else, selflessly serving humanity. And that's a big jump to get from I'm so concerned about my existence to actually my existence is secondary to the wealth and health and well-being of all of humanity. So this is one of the things that we can work on, how to open the heart, how to move the energy consciously through this system. And there's so many techniques that I'm going to teach you, or as many as I can in these days. Then we go to the next, and we get to the most subtle of all the elements. We're talking about the 5 elements of the universe, yes? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space. Everything exists in space or ether. And that's the level here at the throat chakra. And that has to do with the ability to communicate truth, to be able to hear truth, to understand truth. It has to do with a high level of purity and even spiritual intuition. So you see, as you move through the chakras, you're also moving through different levels of consciousness. You know, at the root level, at the first earth level, we're concerned about survival and instinct. And then you go to something more refined like creativity. Then you can go to willpower and manifesting in the world. Then you go to love, and then you go to a certain level of intuition, which is a very high level of the mind. Now, beyond that, that's the first 5 elements. Beyond the 5 elements, there are no elements more. So we go to the more subtle level of mind. And that's the third eye, the famous eye of Shiva, the third eye. All around the world, there have been different names for this space. You know, having started to study a little bit of Taoism and Qigong, they also talk about chakras, more like 3 chakras. And Tibetan Buddhism will talk about 5 chakras. And it depends on which lineage. And all they're doing is focusing on something that lineages feel is most important. They recognize that there are more than the chakras, more than just 5 or 3 or 7. And they're focusing on what their teachings have shown them to be the most efficient and effective science for working with the energy centers within our own being. Then if you go to the top, you can see those rings. It almost looks like a rainbow. Of course, this is symbolism, and it's for the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is what connects us to universal consciousness. So through the practices of yoga, what we're actually doing is learning to take the energy from the lower chakras, bring it up, and boom, light up everything. And be able to open up our consciousness, not our mind. What's beyond the mind is the level of conscious awareness, and be able to open that conscious awareness to unification with everything. Oneness, yoga. So that's what we're doing with the tantric science, which is the approach through working with energy, working with body, working with breath, working with visualization, and on, to be able to move the energy consciously through the chakras and illuminate all of them. And as we open and send energy into these chakras, the capacities that are latent, dormant, inherent, everybody's born with them, but we haven't activated them yet, by sending the energy into these chakras, balancing them, purifying them, amplifying that energy, then you start to activate more of your potential. More of your ability to actualize our fullest potential in this human form, which we all have been given to be divine gods on earth. It's all there, it's just a matter of cleaning it up. Like we said yesterday, wiping that dust off the mirror so that we can actually see truth. Now let's get a little bit better understanding of what the positions are. So the root chakra the chakras are like wheels or like padmas, lotuses. Padma means lotus in Sanskrit. So they say when the energy goes into the chakra, it's like a padma, a lotus that opens and blooms and fulfills the capacity at that level of your being. Now that chakra is the only one that points down. Why would it point down? Thank you. Yes, you are awake. Good. So to be able to connect with the energy of the earth. That's why the energy is there. Now, how do I connect with the energy of the earth when I am thinking about my physical body? I sit my butt on the earth, and my root chakra is connected to that energy. So there are asanas like forward fold, where you can focus on, and I talked about this the other day, inhale the energy from the earth into your root chakra, the base of the spine. And you're using your mind, you're using your intention to make that connection, because everything happens through your mind. So if you believe it and if you intend it, you create it. So if I know that there's energy down there and I'm not sure about it yet, but if I use my intention, I can even visualize to amplify the effect. I can use my breath and I can start to move the energy into my root chakra. It's very simple, actually. There's nothing so incredibly complicated about this that we can't understand it. The only challenge is the application of the science consistently to create transformation. And that's where it comes down to you understanding what is your greatest priority in your life. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to manifest? What video or what movie do you want to create for your life? So your priorities are going to determine your actions. If you really are focused on awakening to truth, as I said in the slide yesterday, you will awaken to truth if that's your main priority. So it comes back to us always. Who do you want to be in this life? How do you want to leave your impact on this world around you? Now we go to the second one. It's called the sacrum, the sacral chakra. So we know the sacrum is at the lower end of the spine here in the lower back. And these chakras have different entry points. So if you look here, the energy comes in through the front of the body. So when I talk about my sacral chakra, I can put it here, or I can put it here at the level of the sacrum in the back. Those are the gateways. Those are the openings. The chakra itself resides in the central channel. It's not the spine, but they call it in the level of the spine, but at the more subtle level because it's not physical. So this central channel is called Sushumna Nadi. Nadi is an energetic channel, and this Sushumna Nadi is the home of these chakras. So by bringing the energy in through the front or in through the back, whatever practices you're using pranayama, using body postures, etc., you can start to create the energy opening here within the central channel. What we're going to do through the tantric practices, we take the energy from these lower centers, we open it, and we send it up to the crown. This is energy, this is consciousness, yes? We talk about the highest consciousness. This union at the top, I should say, coming up, that's the union of matter, consciousness, energy. Everything exists as one, but we perceive it as duality. So we look at the yin and the yang, but it's actually one in constant flow with each other. Same thing in yoga understands this. The yin and the yang, the plus and minus, the duality of the polarity of energy charges that we talked about. All energy has polarity, plus and minus. When we bring those together, we get that zero state, or we get one, union. So that's the process of yoga through the tantric practices of taking the energy up through the chakras, uniting it with consciousness. But guess what? They were never separate to begin with. That's only our level of perception. When you bring the energy up here and you unify it consciously and with awareness, then you transcend duality and you understand what oneness really is. Okay? So you can see as you go up through the chakra system, opening in the front, opening in the back, but the chakra itself is inside the central channel, which is in the area of the spine, but it's not the spine, it's more subtle than that. Any questions? Okay. Is this interesting? Yeah. I would like to have some.
Maybe you can share how we should appreciate the tea.
We should appreciate the teachings first.
The teachings, okay. All right, now this is going to make it more even practical for you guys. This is what makes it available and real, okay? I can talk about subtle energies and it sounds like a nice ghost story because nobody's ever seen it, right? Well, this is really real because when you look at the chakras, and now I'm going to talk about the name in Sanskrit. You don't have to memorize these names, but as you go down your yoga path, the more time you spend studying yoga, Sanskrit will become a second language for you because it's the linguistics that we use to talk about the science. So the root chakra is called Muladhara chakra. And I know my Sanskrit's not great. Muladhara chakra is the root chakra. Mula means root. And this is related to the testes and the ovaries. This is the energy and part of the physical body that is manifested. It's the physical representation or manifestation of the energy of the root chakra. So if we need to work with something on the root chakra, or if we have at the physical level any type of issue with the testicles or with the ovaries, yoga science says, okay, work with the root chakra, charge that up, heal it, balance it, purify it, and by working with the energy, remember, the energy controls the physical body, not the other way around. So this is why healing practices like Reiki or pranic healing and different forms of energetic healing help to manifest healing at the physical level. You're working with the matrix, the blueprint that creates the physical. Therefore, if you want to do something that's going to help you address, I don't know, impotence in men or ovarian cancer in women, you work with the energy of this chakra. And I know it sounds fantastic because we haven't heard of this perhaps before, but all through the traditions that have worked with energy, they understand that energetic healing is actually more profound. Now, of course, energetic healing is not going to set a bone, and it's not going to cure certain things that are structural issues in the physical body. But working with the energy has helped people cure things that modern science has not been able to touch, because they haven't gotten to the understanding that the energy body is actually controlling the physical body. They're still working at the level of the physical. Now, if we go to the next chakra, Swadhisthana chakra, that's one's own abode. That's your understanding of yourself, because at this level, in the human condition in these days, 80, this is a generalization, about 80 to 90% of the people live at these two chakras. Now, all they need to do is focus on food and survival, or sex and play, and sensual gratification. So most of the world is living at that level. Even to get to the next level, the Manipura chakra, this is the leaders of the world. The presidents, the dictators, these are the people that have so much power that they can actually control others. And they say that the people at these levels, the first two levels of conscious evolution that haven't opened up the higher chakras, they're like sheep. And they're willing to follow somebody who has the power to take charge and say, this is what we need to do. So you can see that as you start to work with the chakras, you're not just changing your perception, you're amplifying and opening a capacity that you didn't have access to before, because you hadn't understood how to get into that space of transformation and opening these abilities that we all have. So this is related to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are resting above the kidneys, and these are responsible for the distribution of energy throughout your body. So if you have any weakness, if you feel like you're fatigued, there are definitely yogic techniques to amplify the energy of this chakra, what will then manifest at the physical level. I got more energy to run, I got more energy to work, to play, whatever it is. Okay. So then we go up to Manipura chakra. Manipura is the navel chakra. It's pretty closely related to the Dantian that we talk about in Tai Chi, in Qigong, the lower Dantian. And Manipura is the city of jewels, because the jewels are sparkling, and that light is symbolic of the light of, or energy of fire. And with that fire, as I said before, that's going to create all of the ability for transformation. Heat transforms, yes? If you burn something with heat, it was once a physical thing, and then it becomes heat or ash. At the physical level, ash, and at the energetic level, heat. So this Manipura chakra is essential, actually, for us to face the challenges that come on the spiritual path. If we would like to transform, we better have some strength of willpower, because it's not going to be easy to just go ahead and overcome a lifetime of negativity or obstacles in the world around us or inside ourselves if we don't have a certain amount of discipline. And that comes from this chakra. And at the physical level, it manifests as the pancreas. Now, the pancreas is for purification and other things, but it's also related to the digestion. It's related to elimination, things like this. It's very important to understand that all of these chakras are necessary for our evolution. So people say, I have blockages here or there, what should I do? Well, through the practices, you start purifying and balancing. And all the yoga practices, when they're done with understanding, can help you to release these blockages that we have at the different levels of the chakras. Any questions? Good. Okay, now we go to the next one. Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. Anahata means unstruck sound. And that means that there is something in us. How is sound created? You have to do that. In yoga, they say that there is actually a sound that has been eternal, infinite, never born, never dies. And that sound is manifesting through us at the level of the heart. The source, God, love, coming to create us through the level of the heart chakra. So anahata, the unstruck sound, meaning it was never created, it's always been. And this part of our being has always been. It's never going through transformation at all at the level of understanding that this is coming in to create an individual soul at this physical level, our experience of an individual reflection of the divine soul. We'll talk more about that. Okay, this is related to the thymus gland. This is what's responsible for our immune system. So if we have problems with immunity issues, we work with this level of energy. All of these chakras are related to glands. What are glands in the physical body? They are responsible for the production and distribution of hormones throughout the body, and those hormones are what regulate and control the function of everything. So by working with the chakras, you work with the glands that create the hormones that control everything. So by working with the chakras, you can get to the source of what is controlling everything and manipulate the glands to be able to change the hormone production and distribution. Now we go up to Vishuddha chakra. This is the throat chakra. And this is related to the thyroid gland. This is our, I lost it. What's the name? What does the thyroid gland control? Metabolism. Thank you for saying that. So the metabolism is what controls our ability to maintain weight, to gain or lose weight, and our ability to work with the fuel in our system that has to do with the metabolism. At the physical level, if anybody has speech problems, if they have hearing problems, this is what we work with, because each of these chakras has to do with all of our bodies. So a chakra's related to the physical body, a chakra's related to the subtle energy body, it's related to the emotional body and the mental body. So each of our personality, our characteristics, whether they be physical, mental, or emotional, can be addressed by working with the chakra system. Okay, the third eye, Agnya chakra, Ajna chakra, Anya chakra, many different pronunciations. That's not the important part. It's the third eye. A lot of modern teachings have said that the third eye is here between the eyebrows. Well, from what I've experienced and learned, that's one of the gateways to get to the midbrain, or the center of the brain where the pineal gland and pituitary glands are. So it's not just here, the third eye, it's actually the very center of the brain. If you did a cross-section, cut open the head and did a cross-section of the brain, it'd be right in the middle, and that's the pineal gland, and this is what is responsible for higher states of consciousness, transcendent experiences beyond just the lower rational mind. So when we start to work with this has to do with the pituitary or the pineal. It depends on which school you ask, okay? They reverse them sometimes. I guess that's still up for debate, and you'll have to figure that out with your own experience. But my experience leads me to feel that it's the pineal gland. The pineal gland even has rods and cones in it, just like the eyeballs do. So this is called the master gland, or the master chakra, because it controls all of these. Your mind controls everything. So if you can start to gain great access to the powers of the mind, you can then also have greater ability to access transformation through the other chakras. Everything happens through your mind. But we can also work directly with some of these other chakras to address anything we need to, whatever it be at that level. Now, I could say infinitely more, but we're going to continue on. And the last chakra is the crown, Sahasrara chakra. And again, that one is either pineal or pituitary, depending on who you study with. But this is the opening even beyond the abstract thinking of the mind to something beyond this level of consciousness that we are normally residing at. This is the connection to the divine consciousness. I'm simplifying everything, but again, remember, it's just the big picture for now. Let's really simplify it. The root chakra, we could think I am this body. Sacral chakra, I feel, very emotion, sensuality. Solar plexus or navel chakra, I do. I act in the world because I have willpower at the level of my Manipura navel chakra. Heart, I love. Throat, I speak. Third eye, I see clearly. Not just seeing the physical world, but seeing even the subtleties beyond the physical world. If we can really open the third eye, that's when people can actually see energies, see chakras, have clairvoyance, have psychic powers. And the last one is the crown. I understand, meaning I actually understand my place in the universe, and I understand my connection to the divine. I understand that I am God here in this physical form. Okay. Now, as I was saying before, we have 72,000 energy channels that connect everything to everything else, but we have three main ones that we focus on. So the central channel, which I already talked about, is called Sushumna Nadi. This is where the chakras are existing within that subtle level of our being. But we have two more that are very important. And these are Ida Nadi, and that has to do with, at the physical level, the parasympathetic nervous system. And this nadi is connected to the left nostril, and it runs down through the chakra system to the base. That's why when we breathe in through the left nose, activating the parasympathetic system. When we breathe through the right nose, activating the sympathetic nervous system, 2 different energetic channels. So the one on the left side is related to the energy of the moon, the feminine aspect of our being. Every human being has polarity, masculine and feminine. The idea in yoga is to bring perfect balance to the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves, thereby becoming neutral. And you can see many of these saints, they have men who look rather feminine in some of these pictures. Now, let me help you to understand, there's no lack of female saints in yoga tradition. It's just that they have not gone out and started schools like the men who often go out and collect disciples. It's just a different energy, masculine and feminine. But this nadi is related to the feminine, the right brain, and we could call it Shakti, and we'll talk more about the symbolism in Tantra in a moment. Now, the other side is that's the left, moon, left nostril. Then we go to the right side, Pingala nadi, and this is related to the sun or the sympathetic. Think about moon is cooling, moon is feminine. Right side, masculine, sun, it's heating, it's emissive, it's controlling. So what we're doing is bringing balance between these 2 aspects of ourselves. And we do this most easily, in my experience, from what I taught you this morning. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. You're directly working with those 2 energies of the masculine and the feminine, of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, of the right and left hemispheres of the brain. It's an overall balance. And this is what will help balance the emotions and the mind. That's why this one breathing technique is so valuable to us. Now, the last thing on this slide I want to address, not the last thing, second to last, the only way to get into the central channel, to activate the chakras really at the highest level for full awakening, is to bring balance to the Ida Nadi and Pingala Nadi, to bring balance to the feminine and masculine energy within us. So when we do these yoga practices, it's all about balance. Once we get that balance, then we have the ability to send the energy into that central channel that takes us to our fullest potential. This is the last thing I want to talk about. It's Kundalini. Hey, who here has heard of Kundalini? Most of us have, if we've done yoga for a little bit, there's this mystical, esoteric idea of Kundalini awakenings. Well, what Kundalini is really, let's see if I have it there, not so much. It's the spark of the divine within us. It's this latent energy that we all have, and sometimes in natural circumstances in life. Sometimes when a woman gives childbirth or someone's at war and they're about to be killed, this energy expands and opens to help these people access a greater capacity. And in that state, this energy lights up the chakras and opens up people's abilities. So we can do this through yoga in a consistent, practical, safe way. Because people say, I've heard about Kundalini awakenings and people fry their brain and they've had emotional and mental problems as a result. And yes, that can happen if you force things. So because of these nadis, they're energy channels. And think of them as like a hose or a tube that water runs through. And if you have a bunch of toxins or blockages in that water hose, the water's not going to be able to go through there. It's the same thing at the subtle level of our energy channels or nadis. If there's a bunch of toxins in there, the energy won't flow through. So there's no way to send it through the nadis to help to awaken the chakras. And there are people who get techniques from yoga that are so powerful that it takes years of preparation to use them wisely and correctly. But people get a book or have a teacher who's not responsible enough, or they are just really intent on pushing with the techniques that they learn, and they put too much energy into the energy channels and they blow it out. And that's what's going to create a lot of emotional and mental damage, literally, and sometimes irreversible damage. So yes, in one respect, Kundalini can be dangerous if it's played with in a way that has not the greater understanding of how to manipulate or work with this vital energy. So it's really about being responsible, because yoga, once you get to deeper and deeper techniques, it becomes something that can give you so much power that we have to understand that with that power comes great responsibility, and we can misuse that power. And this is why they say that this path of Tantra is like the razor's edge. You get so much transformation, so much ability that it's easy to fall off that balanced path into abuse of that energy, into hurting yourself or even manipulating others, because you have greater mental control. You can actually start to work on controlling people's thoughts or how they perceive things. Now that's a very high level, but there are examples throughout history of people that have had the capacity to access this power, and then they use it for, we could call, negative forces, harming others. So Kundalini is not something scary. It's not something to worry about if you learn how to do it correctly. That's why in yoga, they used to have a teacher would live with his disciples for 12 years, and they would train and train and train, and the teacher would observe, the guru would watch and say, is this person ready for the next level? Are they morally and ethically responsible enough to handle that much power? Because if they're not ready for it and they get that power, that's when things can go wrong. Okay? You've seen the caduceus. This is a symbolism of modern Western medicine. It's also the same representation that we understand through the yoga science. So symbolism is very prevalent. The Kundalini energy at the base of the spine, that once it's opened, allows us to experience our highest capacity. This is represented by a serpent, coiled 3.5 times around the base of the spine. 3.5 is symbolic of the 3 states of consciousness that we experience normally, which are wakeful. Right now, you're awake. Then we have sleep state, where you're not dreaming. And then we have dreaming state. So those are our 3 fundamental levels of conscious awareness or conscious experience in this physical body. But there's something beyond, and that's the 3.5. That's something beyond the 3rd level. The 4th level is called Turiya, but that just means that the highest state of consciousness, enlightenment, if you want to call it as an easy word. And in Sanskrit, they call it samadhi. Okay, that's the state of Zen or the state of nirvana. So we see that as this snake, the symbolism, it's spiraling up through the chakra system, going from left to right, working with the energy, first balancing the Ida and Pingala Nadi, the masculine and feminine energy, and that allows us to then go into the central channel. And you can see how the symbolism, it's not just from yoga. Okay, people, these esoteric teachings from around the world have been saying the same thing, just in different language. Now, this is a greater explanation I'm not going to go into today, but you all have access to these slides if you want them. And it just tells you more about the chakra definitions, the qualities, and the characteristics. Just to look at the first one. Now they go down in this one, but crown chakra, universal consciousness, all-knowing, cosmic connection, the God source, enlightenment, gateway to other dimensions. And that's very different than the top one. The root chakra is grounding, stability, physical needs, security, survival, manifestation, material world. So this is just a little bit of a graph or explanation, and it's very simplified, so it gets you a brief understanding, okay, that helps you then get the big picture. This is even more. So each of the chakra, you can look at this. It tells you the location. Every color has a vibration, yeah? It has a different frequency. So each of these is related to different frequencies. So each has a different color. A life principle, the root chakra, we talked already about survival and safety in the physical world. What organs of the body are related to this? Elimination, excretion, urination, and defecation. Then we have, what's the correct balance? When this is balanced, what manifests in your personality or being? Stability, vibrant energy, and health. That's why when you're connected to the earth, people that are farmers, people that are working with the earth, tend to have a great vitality compared to people that are working in cities and seem drained most of the time because they're not connected to the earth energy. If you have too much of the energy here, if it's imbalanced, it could be sluggish, you could have constipation. So for people that are dealing with constipation, working with the root chakra can actually help to deal with that. If you don't have enough energy there, it's depleted, this can lead to states of fear, anxiety, and diarrhea, etc. There's even crystals. That's more of a New Age thing. This isn't coming from the original texts, but they've started to see that different crystals have different energetic vibrational frequencies, so they relate those to the chakras. A lot of the traditionalists say, yeah, maybe not really, but that's for debate. Then they say there are yoga poses for each of these chakras. I already mentioned, if you want to open the root chakra, sit your butt on the floor and circulate the energy from the earth into your system through your root chakra. And you can see that for every one of these, okay? I'm not going to go through them all. You guys can do some self-study. Any questions? It's cool, right? Once you get this understanding, then it's like, okay, I know which buttons to push to get the desired result. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm still doing it because I still have more buttons to push to get the results that I'm trying to help with my own evolution. But without this, I would not have had the life I have now, for sure. You know, it's changed me in so many ways, and I'm so grateful that this science exists because it's just an instruction manual for the human being to evolve. And it's so clear-cut, and it's been validated over thousands and thousands of years again and again by those who have the discipline to do the science. Okay, thinking about it, we know, is not going to help with what we really want to do with the transformation. Let's see. It's 5 o'clock. Man, I can talk. Okay. So last thing is just one more will help you to understand. If you want to use yoga for healing, which is a very powerful healing modality, but please understand, yoga was not created for healing the physical body. Yoga was created for spiritual evolution and awakening. But modern science has seen how powerful this is for healing, that it's also become a form of or a modality that's being worked with more and more. Like I said, there are hospitals in India that are working with just yoga for healing different illnesses and conditions. So each of these chakras is related to a physical aspect. The root chakra is related to eliminating. So if you have problems with elimination, work there. But it's also related to smell. So if you have a problem, your smell, if sense of smell is not fully developed, you work with the root chakra. Now, the second chakra, the sacral chakra, sometimes referred to as the sexual chakra, is related to procreation. So if someone has problems with perhaps any of the reproductive organs, whether it be masculine or feminine, they can work with this chakra to balance the energy, which will then manifest health at the physical level. Tasting, it's related to the tongue. So anybody that has issues with, you get the picture? Okay? Learn what these chakras are related to within your being. If you have a need to amplify something or to purify something or to reduce something, you understand this by looking at this systematic approach to the science of chakra yoga or chakra tantra yoga. All right, it's 5 o'clock already. So I think I'm going to have to... 4:40. Oh, I'm ahead. Okay, good. Because this is getting more interesting. For me, anyway. All right. So the chakras. These are universal energy centers reflected in you as this little individual self that we consider ourselves to be. It's a universal energy center reflected in your energy body, not your physical body. Remember, pranamaya kosha is the energy body. This is the karmic energy centers, and they facilitate your karmic journey. This is your life. So when you work with the karma, you can start to change your life. And when you work with the chakras, you can start to change your karma. It's all connected. The cosmic energy centers reflected in your individual conscious and pranamaya kosha that facilitate your karmic journey. If you want to do transformation, yoga is very, very good at changing your destiny, if that's what you're interested in. Because if you feel like you're a limited being, if you feel like you don't have the mental awareness or capacity that you want, you don't have the willpower that you want, do the techniques. And over the course of time, it's not like a pill, it's not magic, it's not going to happen in a couple hours. Like I said, 20 years on this path. And thank God I'm on it, because it's given me more than I could ever have thought or hoped for. But day by day, continuing with the rhythms of nature as things progress slowly and naturally, and we do our practice every day, transformation is coming. They say, do your practice and all is coming. Now the soul, what is the soul? The soul is Purusha, the unmanifest, the universal consciousness, plus your karma, baggage. It's making you go through a certain life experience. So all of us have a soul, but we also have this karma within this individual reflection of the universal soul that makes us go on this particular journey. So the soul descends through the chakras from the top all the way to the bottom, and as it comes into the being, it's lighting up these chakras and allows us to exist at the human form. All chakras and energy in the chakras are controlled by planet formation at your time of birth. This is very important to understand that Indian astrology, Jyotish, I think it's called, if my memory is serving me right now, is incredibly accurate. I've done a lot of astrology readings with Indians and Western astrologers, and they have a different perspective and approach. But the thing that I was really impressed with was how much they could predict. And I've been to Indian astrologers who have told me what was going to happen, and it's happened. All based on the planetary formation at our time of birth. That's because we are part of the universe, and the universe injected the soul into this physical being in that specific time to create a specific possibility for your life. Like I said yesterday, we have parameters within our life experience. You're a man or a woman, that means there are certain things you can or cannot do, but within that parameter of your existence, you have choices that are your free will to choose how you move towards your destination. Physical level associated with major nerve plexuses and endocrine glands. We talked about this again. It's good to hear it again because I'm going rather quickly, but if you hear it a couple times, it might help you. So it controls the circulation of prana. The chakras are the energy channels, and they, once you start working with them and opening them, are helping to distribute the energy through the prana circulation throughout the entire being. Chakras are not just energy. They control your behavior, your thoughts, and your emotions. Well, those things are energy anyway, so you could say that they're related. But it's related not just to the energetic body, it's related to the emotional body and the mental body. The chakras are connected to all levels of our being. All right, we talked about the three main nadis, Sushumna being the central channel at the level of the spine. This is where the chakras are rooted, Ida Nadi and Pingala Nadi. And let's say we'll finish there. Now, that's the technical aspect, right? It's not so philosophical. But in order for me to help you understand what we're doing in our yoga practice every day, I need to also get into the technical aspects of the science of Tantra Yoga. Now, before Tantra Yoga, they had the Vedas. Remember, we started yesterday with the Vedas? That was the original, that most of the things that were talked about in the Vedas was meditation. As humanity has evolved through time, they realized that they needed some teachings that addressed a different level of consciousness. But the Vedas are the source of everything. So even Tantra, this understanding of energy and chakras, it's discussed in the Vedas. It is something that has been in the awareness of human beings at the highest level, the rishis, the seers, the sages. They've known this since time immemorial, since human beings have been in existence. Now, what we're going to do also tomorrow is go more into philosophy again, but you see what I'm doing. I'm trying to weave these things together so that the philosophy supports the practice and so that you understand what you're doing and how it works as you're actually on the mat. And with that greater awareness, you start to get, it's almost a way of helping yourself to perceive what you believe. You perceive what you believe. So if you believe this science, then you can perceive it. If you don't believe it, you'll never perceive it. So this is almost a form of self-suggestion in a way. And they know this, okay? We're working with the mind. It's actually using the mind to convince the mind in a way that there is something more than the mind. I know that sounds a little bit circular, but this is how it works, by self-suggestion, by understanding the science, and if you believe in it, that will be your experience. The only thing we experience is what we believe. There is nothing beyond that. If we don't believe it, it doesn't come into our perception. So belief is something that we also start to look at in this science of working with the mind. Okay, any questions?
Jason,
yeah.
When you plan your sequence, you consciously, choose poses that combine the different chakras, so that by the end of this session, you have all 7 chakras activated.
Good question. It depends on the style I'm teaching. In vinyasa flow or more slower classes, even beginners classes, I don't go there very much because first we need to build the foundation of physical flexibility and strength and awareness and things like that. When you hold postures for longer, that gives us greater access to impact the chakras. Because if I just take 5 breaths here, how am I going to really have much impact at the level of not only the physical realm, but also the subtle aspect, the prana level, and the emotional and mental? So a lot of the original teachings of Hatha Yoga, and we're going to talk about the sacred text of Hatha Yoga, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they encourage us to hold the poses for a long time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. Go into a meditative posture. I'm here for an hour and I'm meditating on my connection to the energy of the earth. Then I will feel a change, even a half hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. But a few breaths isn't going to get you there. So a lot of the modern approach to yoga is quick yoga. We want to flow through the practice, which feels really good physically, but it's not creating a major transformation at the subtle levels. So you walk out of a vinyasa class or an Ashtanga vinyasa class and you feel you're pumped up, your muscles are strong, your flexibility is there, and the energy is flowing through the pranic body. But because you haven't really stayed in the postures for longer, you haven't had a deeper impact at the subtle levels. So what it comes down to is our intention. What is it that you are addressing? Are you addressing the physical level? Then good, do a strong vinyasa class that will bring you strength and flexibility. But if you would like to remove blockages from your heart center, then you're going to need to spend more time there than just 5 breaths in one asana. So it really depends on what the students in the class need and what kind of style I'm teaching or is being taught and what the intention of the teacher and the students are. So it comes down to a case or class by class basis to determine what it is that needs to be shared and experienced. And that's another reason why I really encourage everybody to develop their own personal practice. No two people have the same karmic path. Therefore, if you want to address your karmic path through your chakras, you need to do your self-practice to look at what it is that, like I said, either reduce, amplify, balance, purify, whatever it is at each chakra. This is why you need the understanding to then, because it is possible, if you don't have the understanding, and let's say you're a really fiery person, really a lot of willpower, and you're really attracted to the strong practices that build more fire, that can bring imbalance and create violence, domination, aggression, things like that. So it actually is possible to create imbalances through improper practices of yoga. This is why we need a teacher to help us see that, because in the beginning when I was learning yoga, I was doing a lot of it from books and videos. I hadn't found teachers that I felt could help me understand that much more than what I was getting out of the books and videos, so I did my own self-study. And I did create imbalances in the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing I didn't have this information yet. So this is why it's really valuable for us to get this information and then to find a teacher who can help you apply it to your own personal practice and help you to find the tools that will work with your own development.